Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games in the Game Pass collection. Bring you three unique perspectives from varying skill range. I am the Steve Weeby of this episode. Andrew, with me are Billy Mitchell, Keith.
Oh, we're doing references I don't know then. Or is that the King of Kong guys?
Yeah!
Okay. It's the second one that got me.
And it's funny, I'm glad that you said that, because for Liz's intro, and the one who has no idea what I'm referencing, Liz.
Hey, guys.
Beat you to it, Liz.
I'm glad you figured it out, Keith. But this week was a game I picked, well, unintentionally picked, but we played Arcade Paradise by Nosebleed Interactive. Arcade Paradise is a first-person arcade management game where you are playing a young college dropout who just inherited her father's old laundromat, in which you discovered, hey, there's a couple arcade cabinets in the back of this laundromat. And you decide to kind of grow your own business and start your own arcade out of your father's old laundromat. But going around, Liz, is this a game or pass for you?
This is a game for me. I think that it's a little difficult because I'm really bad at arcade games. Like, there's some that I love, but I'm not great at them. And so I found myself wanting more of the management side of this, wanting more of that. And also, I just wanted to do more laundry. So
I like the game's Arcade Paradise. You're like, more laundry, please.
Give me more tasks. Well, you finally got your wish, Andrew. We finally got a simulator game. It's been a long time coming. You've been playing all of them since they started dropping all over Facebook, and
Facebook.
Yeah, all over
Pass,
Facebook, all over Game Pass.
We're Facebook grab bag here.
Facebook grab bag. So all of a sudden, once they started coming on Game Pass, you've been all about them.
And there's been a slew of them.
And I've played a handful of them here and there. But this one is awesome, and there's a lot about it that I really like, and I think partly because it's maybe a little less simulator than the other ones, but all that to say, it's definitely a game for me.
Yeah, this is a game for me as well. I have some issues. So obviously, like I said, you're managing this arcade. I agree with Liz. My biggest complaint probably is I wish there was more management in this game, but the whole purpose is you get to play these arcade games that you're playing. So it's essentially you're playing a management game with a bunch of mini games in it. And obviously when you're playing these arcade games, they're obviously very reminiscent of classic arcade games. But I would say none of them are better than like the originals that you would play at an arcade, because they're all kind of like weird and quirky. But overall, this game is a time sink, and I loved it. This game was just so good for me. Of just sort of like, I'm going to play another day. I'm going to play another day. I want to do this. I want to do this task and this task. So it is a ton of fun. Yeah, I didn't originally mean to pick this game. I've just been putting a ton of hours of this, and Keith started playing it, and then he messaged me going, man, I've been playing this Arcade Paradise that you've been playing, and it's a ton of fun. So that's why we ended up doing this episode. But so getting into the story, as I said, this game takes place in 1992, early 90s. You're this young college dropout who apparently has this really rich father. He owns a meatpacking industry here in town. This town is kind of a small town that's dying. The only thing that's really popular in this town is this meatpacking factory. And so, since you were a college dropout, your dad's figured, this is a time for you to prove yourself, and he wants you to manage the laundromat. But you decide to go behind his back and just start building this arcade out of the laundromat. So as you're progressing through the game, your arcade's getting bigger and the laundromat's getting smaller. But did the story grip you guys at all?
Grip me? No. And not even in my anti-story Keith way, really. This is a classic means to an end. Our age-old conflict of stories in this podcast. But I think it does just fine giving you a reason to want to do more than just manage this little arcade, because you're kind of trying to stick it to your dad the whole time, prove that you know what's better than him. But yeah, and I like the little dynamic you have with your sister who's messaging you and sort of helping you along behind the scenes to do your own thing, because it sounds like she tried to do the same but got shut down by your dad. So she's like living vicariously through you.
Which I kind of like I like and dislike that a lot of the conversations, the story bits that you're getting are like on an AOL text chat on the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Just reminds me of those the good old days of AOL text chat.
You mean AIM?
Yeah, AIM.
Who called it AOL text chat?
I don't know.
Like,
I do.
You sound
well,
like an
for
old,
people who
like-
don't know what aim is. If I'm just calling it aim, people don't know what aim is if they don't.
I'm just saying,
If they didn't live through
you
that.
become that living meme of, what I played growing up and what my mom called it, and it was all Nintendo, and you're calling it AOL text chat, and you used AOL Instant Messenger. I'm so disappointed.
But like
in
I
you.
said, if for our younger audience who didn't grow up on it, if I just say aim, they don't know what that is.
Well, then, you know what? They'll
So
look it up.
excuse me for trying to help people. Who's going to
Or
look
call
it
it
up?
AOL
No one's
Instant
gonna look
Messenger,
it-
because they're going to go Google AOL text chat, and they're going to get nothing because it's nothing. At least if you give them the right thing to Google, they can figure it out.
Okay, that's a fair point, Keith.
I think too, going back to the story, because you hear the dad's voice, but there really aren't any like family cutscenes, and you're not really having a lot of, you're not really seeing the other characters and stuff. So I think I got more out of it than I thought I would, considering that. But I thought that it was interesting, and you have like the different people that are messaging the business, and you're ordering and stuff. So I don't know. I thought that the story was pretty interesting. I feel like it was more than I thought it would be.
One thing I hated about the story, and like you brought it up, is there's a handful of, like, the story's actually not bad in this game because it actually goes through kind of some heavy moments, and there's moments where you're talking on AIM with your dad, and all of a sudden, like, the conversation is getting heavy, and your dad calls, but your character doesn't talk. So it's always your dad, you listening to your dad on a voicemail, which is really awkward of a way of like a storytelling element of like, he's like calling you up and then starts going into conversation with himself because you're not saying anything. It was a weird kind of story choice, but the story overall, I disagree with you, Keith. It's not just a means to an end. It actually was kind of interesting. I was actually intrigued to learn more as to what was going on.
Well,
I found out what happens at the end because of you, and I wish that I had played further to see like what happens. But yeah, hearing what happens in the end, it makes me want to play more.
Well, and I do think it's interesting in the sense of being a simulator game. I know a lot of them kind of just run like, hey, you're garage simulator, so your
grandfather died and you inherited his garage.
and
You inherited his farm.
and you just have people calling you up and saying, hey, here's what's wrong with my car, fix it. And so there's like just little tasks, and they build these little story element to it by giving you the job a description, if you will, whereas this simulator gave you more of an experience and a story. So I do think it's more like filling and more rich than most of its genre, and so for that I think it's good. But I don't think I was like, oh my goodness, what happens next? Like it was very point A to point B. There wasn't anything all that crazy about the story, I guess, that made me feel it. I do know what you mean with like those few heavy moments where it's like awkward, where you're just, the phone's ringing because you know that moment where someone is calling you and you know who's on the other line. You're like, nope, not gonna do that. So
straight to voicemail.
Yeah, so like there's definitely ways that I think they do a better job than most of the genre, but I still don't think it's an overall like, wow, that was a good story.
Did you beat the game, Keith?
I haven't replaced the sign, but essentially.
Oh, so essentially yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes.
Oh. I mean, we'll get into it, but did you get the awesome music video?
I didn't, because I didn't replace this.
Oh,
I'm assuming that's what happens after I replace the sign. I am kind of.
I think so. I thought you did it. Well, I thought it was like before that, but anyway, we'll save that bit a little bit later. But yeah, so as far as the gameplay element goes, as I said, it's a first person. You're walking around. It's mostly a laundromat at the beginning. You're picking up trash. You're pulling off gum off the walls. You're fixing the toilet. But one thing I loved, like, you're doing these very repetitive menial tasks. But, this being arcade paradise, it adds like an arcade flair to everything you're kind of doing. So everything you're picking up, it's, making arcade sound effects, or you have to do like a mini game of,
With the plunger.
With the plunger where you're fighting the toilet, and it actually has like a health bar. So like the game actually adds some flavor to just, instead of just doing these repetitive tasks, it makes them like these kind of interesting arcadey mini games. And then, as I said, as you're earning money, you get to buy arcade cabinets. The arcade cabinets come, you get to play them. And when you play them, each arcade cabinet has a certain task, like goals to do. So like if you're playing the virtual air hockey, score on yourself 3 times, beat the opponent 2 times. Like you usually have like 3 to 5 objectives you need to do to beat this arcade. And when you do, they generate more money. You get more money, buy more arcade games, and rinse and repeat. I don't know about you guys, but I found the gameplay loop of Arcade Paradise so addicting. Like just doing like at the beginning of just like cleaning up trash and doing laundry, like I felt like if anyone was watching me play this game, which you were at first, Liz, you were watching me play this game and you're doing laundry, like it looked super boring, but it's an addictive gameplay loop.
I absolutely agree. I mean, it's what I say all the time. It is a game that is in bits and bytes, and it happens all kind of so quickly that, like you mentioned when you were talking about your gamer pass, where it's just always just like, well, I'll just do one more thing, because every one more thing feels like 2 minutes here, 5 minutes here, and it is, and it's all 2 to 5 minute blocks. But you will just chew up those 2 to 5 minute blocks so quickly. And it's just the type of game that I can sink my teeth into, even though there's nothing about it that's like, I don't know, like game of the year quality. It's not AAA. There's really nothing even new about it. As you said, it's, kind of knockoffs of old arcade games. So I don't know. There's nothing special about it, but man, is it so much fun to play.
I would get myself excited about saving up for something. So like the pound ones, the things that you can get or from the to-do list with the games. And so did I explain that well?
No. Let me real quick.
So yeah, you can explain it.
There's what Liz is trying to explain. There's two types of currency you're earning in this game, which is kind of, I think, a joke. You earn money, like actual regular like US dollars, and that's what you use to buy arcade games. But then eventually your dad's like, oh, I'll pay you real dollars. I'll pay you in real pounds, as in like the British currency. So you have US dollars in British pounds. The British pounds you use to upgrade your character. So you can carry more trash, get someone who empties like the hoppers of the coin machines for you. And so every day you have a 3 task to-do list. Play a game for so long, walk down the street. Like they could be random. And those will get you pounds.
Yes. And those are the ones that I was saving up for because I'm not good at arcades. And so Andrew, he kept telling me like, oh, those to-do lists are so easy and stuff. Some days they're not very easy.
Yeah, but some are stupid easy, some are stupid hard.
Well, the assistant manager that empties out the hoppers, I really wanted that because I was expanding the arcade. I was getting a lot of machines and I was like, that's what I want. And so for me, like I would get really excited about the new day to see what the lists are and stuff. So that really kept me going. And honestly, a lot of the stuff on that really got me excited. So it's like I wanted to upgrade all the things to go fast. I didn't upgrade like my speed or anything yet, but that actually got really addicting for me, but also frustrating because like I got the walking up the street one once.
Oh, I got that a good amount. I loved getting that task.
I never got I don't think ever. I thought you were.
Oh, really?
You literally made that.
I got all the hard ones.
No, I got it like 3 times. It's to take a walk down the street, and you literally walk down. It's like, here's 20 pounds. It's like, sweet.
Not a single time did I ever get that. So it's a weird thing. I think I have 2 feelings about it because I do like that it's an ever-changing element within the game of goals to accomplish and things to do. Because where this gameplay could have fell very quickly flat would be, hey, here's just a bunch of arcade games, go wild with them. I'll play them, but I don't really want to aimlessly just sit down and play any of these kind of mediocre games. But if you give me all kinds of dumb little tasks and chores and goals to do, I'm absolutely going to do that. So my issue with the to-do list is twofold. One is myself that I just kind of ignored them for a while because I was just more focusing on the individual goals. So I set myself back a ways. Like I was pretty far into, I don't know, having my arcade built before I finally started focusing on them. But my other complaint is it just takes so long. Like I'm pretty much at the end of the game right now. I have like one major task left to do, but I've essentially beaten the game, and just saving up for those things to get like the 2 big ones, like the car and the watch, is taking forever. It's like 70 to 80 a day at most that you get with these tasks. And so it's just a chore. But outside of that, I love the element of it because, as I said, it even, mixes up just having these set goals on the machines to giving me a reason to try a different machine. Maybe I've been focusing on one for a while. I'll go play this one because now I have a to-do for it. So I did like the element as a whole.
What I thought was interesting going back to what we were saying at the beginning about wanting more management. So when you're playing the games, sometimes the machines break and you take out that little disc thing and you flick the cockroaches off or whatever they are.
Which is a joke of you're debugging the game by actually getting rid of bugs.
Oh my gosh, I didn't connect that.
Oh, you did it?
But what I think is funny is that they didn't really do anything in the laundry room for that.
Yeah.
Because I think I've said on this podcast before that growing up, we would have to go to the laundromat because we never had a washer and dryer. We'd walk to the nearest laundromat. And machines are always broken. Anyone who's a regular at a laundromat knows, like, that machine doesn't dry. That one, the spin cycle's awful. Like everybody knows. And so I thought it was interesting that they didn't do that. You know what I mean? They had like the clogged toilet and different things. But the biggest thing that's annoying at a laundromat is that there's always those machines that are broken.
That's a really good point. Like it's so funny. It's like, because it's so simple, and I don't think it takes anything away from the realism of it. But it would be like just one more fun element of like a little thing to do, and would add a ton of realism, because I spent many years at a laundromat as well. And there's always something wrong there.
Liz just legitimately wants a Laundromat Paradise game.
I mean,
I do.
You could just do that, but it wouldn't be very fun because it doesn't give you a lot of laundromat upgrades.
Which, that's what I was kind of expecting. I was expecting to maybe have options of, do I want to upgrade the arcade or do I want to upgrade like my laundry machines or something like that?
That would have been kind of a fun little like split in the game where you could decide to like, all right, you know what? I'm actually going to listen to my dad. I'm going to tell my sister to like kick rocks. I'm going to go and I'm going to do the laundromat thing. And
nobody likes video games.
Yeah, everyone.
Laundry's the future.
Most of the people in the town work at a butchery. I mean, they probably need a good laundromat, so why not cash in on that as well?
But also, I mean, look at where arcades are now and where laundromats are now. You know what I mean? You still need laundromats.
They're both dying.
Well, do you know what's funny? You're just saying like upgrading your laundromat. I was visiting family this past week, and I got to go to a laundromat like I used to growing up. I brought my mom there so she could do her laundry. And I mean, this is kind of tying into graphics. But when I went as a kid, like, it looked just like this game. Like, the same carts, the same, like, little pull things for the detergent and all that. I walked in, and, like, some of these machines must be from 1992. And I didn't look at the laundry one, but the carts were the same. Like I don't really go into a laundromat and ever see an upgraded laundromat. You know what I mean? But arcades, though, so we went to Tennessee, and we went to, like, a really snazzy arcade, and then I went to one at the beach, like, near where we were staying, visiting family, and it was so run down. Yeah. They actually had, so they had machines that didn't work. They ate your quarters, but they also had them rigged, so you didn't get as many points and stuff. Like, it was just a run down, like, hole of an arcade. Yeah, hasn't changed exactly in decades.
You're talking about.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like, I remember going there as a kid, and when you scored 100 points, you got 100 points, and you got the tickets for that, you know? And now they're like, oh, we're gonna sneak in a 60 points there. It's like, no. But it was like all the machines that were rigged, and it was just like sad and depressing. But
I know, like, I feel bad for a lot of like the current generation of. They just don't get to understand the joy and excitement of arcades, because arcades are few and far between. And honestly, the arcades now are not good because, like, yeah, like Liz was saying, we've been to a couple and they're all just like ticket machines. Like, there's no more real arcade games anymore.
They're basically all Dave and Buster's now.
Yeah. And like, it's just kind of sad. Like, I know there isn't much of a market anymore for it besides like Dave and Buster's, but it's just like, yeah, you no longer have that arcade that's down the street. Like, I remember, and when I was in high school, I don't understand how no one's remade this game, but Dance Dance Revolution was like the hottest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody loved it. Like, that game was making like thousands of dollars at every arcade. I had someone in my high school that literally dropped like 50 pounds because he was going to play Dance Dance Revolution every day. Like, he literally would ask anyone who would drive him to the arcade just so he could play Dance Dance Revolution. And which is kind of funny that you get to have a Dance Dance Revolution in your game, but I don't know how no one's remade that game. I feel like that'd still be a very good arcade game today.
I think they have them at Dave & Buster's. They just give tickets now. And
Oh, that's so lame.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying
Well, I think-
it's cooler. I'm just saying I think it still exists in that capacity.
I also think too, like the rundown arcade that I went to, a lot of the games, like once you know how to do it, it's easy. So for instance, like skee ball, something like that. Like once you kind of have the method, it's really easy.
Yeah, it's easy. You get the ball and you throw it down the ramp.
No, but if you look at a certain spot and it can
That's with
go
you.
whatever. But there's a lot of games like that, and I just like these games were fun and challenging in the game. But I also like I'm so bad at them that sometimes I just didn't want to play. I think that was like a big thing for me, where it's just like I'm just not good.
Well, in total, there's what 30 some odd cabinets you can play now. At least 2 of them are duplicates.
I think
of
it's
each other.
listed as. Yeah, I think it's listed as 35 plus.
Well, because there's DLC, which I meant to look at it more. But did you notice that one of them was Kung Fury? Or did you maybe even point that out to me? I kind of want to get that.
I pointed that out to you.
But yeah, so you have like 30 some odd cabinets. And out of at least the close to 30-ish I have, I think there's probably only like 5 or less that I genuinely dislike. But otherwise, all of them are at least pretty fun, and some of them I actually genuinely like.
Well, I want to first ask then, what arcade games did you dislike?
Line Terror, in particular.
That one's infuriating. Yes,
I cannot stand Line Terror. It feels lame.
it just isn't programmed well. Is how I always felt.
Yeah, it's too difficult, and not in a like, hey, this is tricky. You got to figure it out. It just it's hard for hard's sake. But I would say Line Terror, and then I really don't like any of the table games like pool or the like air hockey or whatever. Those are just hard to control with the controller. Is the reason I don't like those. But really,
they're
everything
great in
else is
real
pretty
life,
fun. Oh, and
you know?
Racer Chaser.
Yes, I was hoping you'd say that. I hated Racer Chaser. Racer Chaser is supposed to be a mix between Pac-Man and Grand Theft Auto, where you are playing a guy who essentially steals a car and you're outrunning the cops, which the cops are supposed to be like the ghost in Grand Theft in Pac-Man. But it wasn't a good designed game. Like it felt crappy.
I didn't understand how you get past the first level, because I was going through the different screens, like through the different tunnels, and I was like, what am I doing wrong?
You have to collect all the money.
All of them?
Yeah,
like
have you never
Pac-Man.
played Pac-Man? Have you never played Pac-Man?
I know I definitely have as a kid, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't realize you had to get like all the money.
Yes. Oh boy.
Womp womp.
Boy, oh boy.
I thought that might be it, but then I was just like, I don't really feel like collecting all the money. So I was like, I'm going to go further and see what happens.
That's
I thought it was a
valid point. I didn't
distance
either.
thing.
That's one of the reasons I didn't like that game.
But yeah, to piggyback off yours, Keith, another game I first liked, but I ended up hating it was Zombat.
Yeah.
Zombat I liked because it's like a twin stick shooter, but I felt like I am constantly getting to-do lists to play Zombat, and Zombat just takes too long. And so like I got so sick of that game because I always felt like it was giving me a to-do list to play that game, and I got sick of it.
I'd agree with that. I got that a lot, and it was always a gun that I've never gotten before, and I just, again, I had trouble progressing in that game, but I did enjoy it.
I really didn't care for Wood Gal Jr., which was essentially kind of like Candy Crush, but just like, I don't know, to me, I felt that game just felt just irritating.
That one I liked at first because I liked the element of like, oh, it's kind of like a walk around RPG, you fight the enemies and you collect things, but it got really repetitive. Like I beat it, but I didn't I didn't unlock the endless mode or whatever. So yeah, that one just got really long towards the end. So I didn't like that one by the end.
What about you, Liz? Do you have any other games that you didn't that you disliked?
Not really. Like, I got sick of some of them, like you said, like with Zombat and the Razor Chaser, because I was constantly getting the to-do list for them, but I still enjoyed them.
I actually thought the Racer Chaser to-do lists were usually easy because it'd be like collect 3,000 money or, make 5 cops dance or whatever it was. And those would be pretty easy, actually. But I didn't like playing the game. I just liked the to-dos for them typically.
All right. So what about what are the arcade games that you loved?
Well, so one that I guess kind of faded, but only because I just wanted it to go longer than it did, was what was it? Vostok 2083.
Oh, Vostok 2023 or whatever.
Yep, that was one I really liked at the beginning, and I didn't get bored with. I don't know. I ran out of things to do. What was it? Knuckles and Knees was pretty fun, and then
there's a street Streets of Rage copy.
I think probably my number 3 of one that I always liked playing, even when I didn't have any goals left to do or didn't have to dos. I would just play it for fun. Would probably be Stack Overflow.
Stack Overflow is my favorite. I loved Stack Overflow. Even when I beat that game, I found Stack Overflow so fun.
Yeah, it's kind of soothing.
It is.
That one and the one that you actually taught me how to play because I wasn't quite sure what I was doing, where like the numbers fall down.
Blockchain.
Yep, that one.
You liked Blockchain?
Yeah, and the stacking one. But honestly, I loved so many of them. It was just about like ones that I thought that I could maybe do a little well on.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a handful that I always kind of enjoyed. One of my favorites, I really like the simple, like just pushing 1 or 2 buttons. So Attack Vector, where you're a tank and you literally just have to shoot a helicopter that comes on the screen.
I was so bad at that. I loved it, but I was so bad at that one.
The amount of times I hit 29 on that and I cannot hit 30 because I start to panic towards the last 20. And,
the games, they remind me very reminiscent of like the actual iPhone app. Do you remember Flappy Bird? Of like very hard, but like it was always like, oh, I want to beat my score. I want to beat my score. Yeah, I loved Attack Vector. I loved Wood Girl Jr. I think it was, and then Wood Guy Jr. This is one of my complaints. Those 2 arcade cabinets are exact copies of each other. Like they didn't change the gameplay at all. All they did was just change the person, which I think is kind of meant to be like a little bit of a joke of like Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. But Miss Pac-Man is actually meant to be known to be a harder arcade game. Like that's the whole story of it.
Well, that would make sense too, because on Wood Guy Jr. a little bit, it has a high score to hit, I think. And I was noticing maybe this is completely in my head, but I felt like, so it's a simple, basically, there's a couple different ways you can do it, but the way I was doing it was using the bumpers on the controller. So like
that's how I did
left
it.
bumper, right bumper, swaps the side your character is chopping from, and you see how high you can chop up this tree, basically. But I felt like on the Wood Guy Jr., I had to swap sides less frequently. So it was like almost a little bit easier to get higher scores. I think I had like a 130 on that, where I have like a 115 on Wood Girl. So I don't know if it's accurate or not, but in my head, it felt a little easier.
Oh, one that I was surprised how much I liked. Did you guys do the Whack-A-Mole?
And I'm sure if I looked at the to-do, because that's another thing that's actually pretty great about the gameplay, but I didn't always pay attention to, is that it has this, how to play the game. I didn't realize how the buttons worked on it.
It's mapped like the controller.
Yeah, once I figured that out, I was like, oh, this is pretty neat. But when I was playing it on cloud and the lag was making it a little tough. But yes, I found it much more fun once I figured out the controls to it.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I actually found this game to be overall pretty good on the cloud. Like, as Keith said, some of these games, like, you're kind of meant to be a little bit quick. Like, as we're talking with, like, the Wood Gal Jr., where you're chopping the tree, you kind of need to be quick with your actions because you're on a timer. But overall, I thought this was a really good cloud played game because, even if you're playing through a day and you have to stop, you can quit and save and it'll just like end the day early, but there's really no like penalty. Like, it's not like, oh, you didn't do all your tasks today, you lose money, your arcade's like not doing well. It was always kind of a way of just like kind of ending the day and just you can come back to the game anytime. So I thought this was a fantastic cloud play game. And this is definitely a game, even though I've beaten it, like I was just playing Liz's game, I could easily pick this up and I'm going to play for a couple hours.
Yeah, I love that you picked up my game because you were going to do the cheat at the beginning that makes it's a gold laundromat, so you get all S's. And you're like, oh, yeah, do you want to play this? And he like was doing that for me. And then he just starts playing. He doesn't even realize. Another thing I wanted to bring up about like ending the day. So when the laundromat closes, you still have a little bit of time that you can play if you're already in a game. Yeah. But I thought it was frustrating that I don't know if this happened to you. After hours, you couldn't see if you did something on your to-do list or how much time you had left. So if it says spend 10 minutes on, what is it, blockchain, whatever it's called, then you can't see where you're at, but during the day you can.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, well, I don't want to keep playing if I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So one pro tip, if you do pick up Arcade Paradise, so obviously this game is timed of like how a day goes. After 23 hours, 11 o'clock, the arcade closes and you can't do any more tasks. Like you can't do any laundry, you can't play any arcade games. But if you're in the middle of playing an arcade game, time will never end. Like it'll say like, oh, it's 2 a.m., you should go home. But it won't penalize you. So you literally could play that game for hours and hours and hours. It's not like, oh, the morning's here's the next day. You pass out in the middle of the arcade. So if you ever want to work on an arcade machine, just make sure you are on it before the place closes, and you can just spend as unlimited time you want. And there's no penalty. You can just stay there and just do all the tasks within that one game.
Well, and
I wish I discovered that earlier.
I feel like there's the window of time between 11 and 2 where you can like still do stuff within the laundromat and like arcade, but it's once 2 a.m. hits, that's when it's like, no, you can't start anything. And I don't know, that's not really a big difference, I guess, but I guess in terms of that kind of being your 2-minute warning in real life that you have the place closing up.
Yeah. But yeah, just like it kind of stinks like playing this. I really wanted more management though. Like that's my biggest complaint is because I always love management stuff. Like I thought for sure I'd maybe open up like a snack bar or a pizzeria or something like that. And maybe even possibly like a prize counter and you deal with tickets and stuff like that. But I was really disappointed in the lack of just customization in this game. Like also you can't really design anything in the arcade. The only thing you can do is just move the location of the cabinets, which once I placed a cabinet, I never moved it. But they're like, oh, if you put a popular cabinet next to a least popular cabinet, it boosts them. Like, so the least popular cabinet will make more money. I never cared to remove things around.
Well, because I don't think it makes enough of a difference. Like, I think I have it maxed out, like Zombat, which I think is a pretty popular one in terms of like like a base popularity. It still racks in like 35 an hour. And then I don't know, my least popular, like the pool table is still like $22 an hour. So yeah, it adds up over time because I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the game does mostly deal with thousands of dollars. It doesn't get into millions and all these crazy numbers, but it still just feels like, I don't know. I do like that you can go in and you can manage the games a little bit, like you said, the location, and you can manage, the price within increments of 50 cents, 50 to $1.50, and then easy, medium, and hard. And it shifts how much you make per hour based on that. So it's like fun to mess with that. But really, again, it became one of those things by the end of the game. I was just like $1.50 hard, $1.50 hard, and you just play it a bunch and you get it up to its max. So I liked it that it had that, but I wanted it to do more. So I agree with you in that sense, Andrew.
I also am wondering, so with this game, I wonder if it'd be hard for people to play or for people who hate doing laundry. Like, I know people
You're not really doing laundry. You're holding
No, but it's also...
do laundry.
Which I understand. But there are, like, certain chores that I dislike doing. Like, when a game comes up and it's like, oh, you gotta drive. I'm like, oh, well, I avoid that in real life, too. Like, I don't want to do it. But I don't think, like, you understand how much some people loathe doing laundry.
I mean...
But I
didn't like that aspect of it just because it felt like the most tedious part of it. I did find, and maybe it had something to do with a setting I had, is if I just quick tapped A on, say, like the laundry or the dryer, it would automatically do the circle as long as I didn't push any other button. So I didn't have to hold A every time.
Which I didn't care. Like, what's the difference between holding and not holding? You still have to wait. That's the thing that I didn't like, the waiting.
I agree. I'm not saying that it was like, oh, wow, this is so much better, and all of a sudden I enjoyed this aspect of it. But no, it was nifty. And it at least made me hate it a little bit less.
And the options menu is where you could change that to do laundry. You either just press A or hold A. You can toggle that.
Oh, okay.
And also, I've spoken to people in different countries that I guess like having a dryer isn't the norm. And so I wonder if, laundromats around the world, do some people just not have dryers? Or is it just like they just have them anyways? Isn't that weird?
Maybe they just don't have laundromats.
Maybe.
Well, no, because people's washing machines break.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? So I was just curious about that, because it's like where my brother lives in Australia, like they're like, yeah, nobody around here has dryers. They just hang everything. And I know people from other countries that it's the same thing. I just thought that was weird.
International listeners, tell us, you guys have a dryer?
And
Or
your
do
laundromat?
your laundromats have dryers? Or do you just take home wet clothes and then hang them there?
Hang them up.
Because that would be the one. Like, I can see hanging them up. Like, that seems like I can see that being pretty common. But yeah, I don't feel like you'd want to like take a bunch of wet clothes away from a location and then hang them up.
See, I remember that was my thing. Like, we didn't go to the laundromat too much, but we would wash our clothes. We had a dryer, but my mom would always just have us do it on the clothesline because it was free.
But I mean, it's also, some people have really harsh winters. If you have a lot of kids, that's a lot of clothing to hang in your house. And then also, like where we live, there's just too many creepy crawlies that would get on the clothes. I remember like earwigs were the worst when you hung laundry, because we actually did hang our laundry for like a year or two. The earwigs, man. But living where we are now, like, no way. You would just find so many spiders.
Well, ironically, our HOA denies clotheslines too.
Oh yeah, we were moving in. They're like, you're not allowed to hang your laundry outside.
It's so weird.
It's weird.
It is really weird. I mean, people having like 50 cars.
I know.
That's okay.
That's okay, but a clothesline, no.
In your backyard, in the privacy of your backyard.
Get out of here.
And all the backyards are fenced. Loud music, that's okay.
I think it's funny. I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to talk about this game. We're going to talk a lot about arcades. And here we are talking more about laundry.
Do you know what? Because it's just what I enjoyed the most. And it's the same with, like, growing up, my dream was to have a washer and dryer. And so I love folding. When I went to the laundromat with my mom and she let me fold, I was so excited, because some people are very particular about how they fold. Like, if I'm feeling, like, wild, I might switch it up a little bit. But some people are very like, I do not want people folding, because like you get Wrinkle City.
What I love,
and it's
Liz was like, I don't know if I have the energy to record today. I'm really tired, and Liz is getting so excited talking.
We
about laundry.
drove 12 hours overnight last night,
I know.
And now it is like what, 9:15 at night.
Yeah.
I am like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what words are coming out of my mouth.
Well, so it's funny you mentioned this, because I hate folding laundry, and I'm not very particular about how it's folded, but I do like it all folded the same way. So the fact that you just say you like to just casually switch up how you're folding things as you're folding it, that part's wild to me, because you got to
No,
fold
that's
them
what I'm
all
saying,
the
like,
same
That's
well,
kind of crazy.
I just don't do it like willy-nilly, but like, for instance, like, I mean, sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to hang something right away, so I'll fold it and then hang it later, because, I'm usually multitasking. But no, I don't have some shirts folded, lengthwise in half versus like the sides folded.
Okay.
I'm not a savage.
Okay, that's where you had me concerned, because I'm like, okay, I don't have a lot of concerns, but I do at least like it all uniform. That's all I ask.
Well, I bought these like sock organizers because we don't have a bureau, but like I decided to change how I fold my socks. All of my socks are folded the new way. But I just decided, like, why not? I'm feeling a little crazy today.
This is riveting conversation about laundry.
This week on
It's because you don't do laundry that you don't find it interesting. But, like, it's funny that I'm talking about how, like, I like things folded, like, a certain way. But I have never bleached anything. I don't separate things. Like, I put my T-shirt with my jeans, and I just hope for the best. Like,
That's how I've always been.
Yeah, and towels are separate.
Well, this is also funny, too. Like, you clearly are really good at folding and, like, preparing your clothes. Because, Liz, how often have you ever used an ironing board?
Never.
Exactly.
You know what?
But that's the thing. Your stuff is never wrinkled. All through high school, as a guy, I never folded my laundry. I just figured out ways to get wrinkles out of my clothes that were clean. Toss in the dryer for a few minutes. That loosens it up. Sometimes I splash some water on my shirt. That would get rid of some wrinkles.
That's so much more work than just putting your clothes
When
away.
you're a high school boy, you don't care.
I
used
want
to
to get
do
one of those
a wet
like
face cloth in with it, and so that way I didn't have to wet the shirt itself, but the moisture from the towel would create the same effect.
I love that you guys actually cared about wrinkly clothing, because I've never in my life been like, oh, this is a little bit too wrinkly, I can't wear it. I'm just like, well,
Girls don't like
I
a wrinkled
mean,
shirt.
in
You got to figure out a way.
In my peak high school days, there was also some days where you throw a little Febreze or some Axe on there before you throw it in the dryer too. So again,
Yep.
you diffuse a little bit of it, but you get something in there because it probably didn't smell great when I was putting it on.
So instead of doing like a fabric softener sheet, you sprayed Axe on
Probably
your
not
shirt and threw it
necessarily
in the
Axe,
dryer.
probably Febreze more than likely, if I'm honest.
No, that's when you wear a shirt for like 3 days straight. You just splash some Febreze on. You're like, no, I don't need to wash it. It's good. It smells good.
See, that's
It's
weird.
a odor
I feel like
remover, right?
I can wear pants for more than one day. Like if you have a pair of jeans, I'm not gonna like every time I wear a pair of jeans throw them in the dirty clothes bin. But it's 3 days for a shirt.
Well, if it's a new
Oh,
shirt.
but you know what?
This is another thing guys know. Back in the day, Liz, Keith, you could probably back me up with this. Whenever you bought new clothes, you would not have to wash those clothes for about a week. It's brand new. You can actually keep wearing it as long as you don't get it too
So-
gross and dirty.
As long as that's
I
the only
used
thing
to
on it, you're good
believe
to go.
that.
Right? Yeah, there you go, Keith.
I used to believe that, and then this year I got a new pair of pants, and I had like a weird reaction to it, and I've never happened before in my life, and it took like weeks for it to go away. And I mean, nothing like too gross, and that's not what I'm saying, but like it was my skin had a reaction to it, and it wouldn't go away for weeks. That's never happened before, so now I'm like, no, I gotta wash it. First time ever in my life that's happened. It was horrible. But yeah, normally I would. But then also like not to be like too risque. That risque is not the word. But as a woman with bras, sometimes
Well, don't use the B word, Liz. It's really risque. You have to put it explicit on this episode.
stop. No, but
Next
sometimes
thing you know,
like
you're
I
gonna be
feel
talking
like
about
women can be a
underoos.
little gross.
Long johns.
I'm just saying women are also gross.
No, that's not. No, that's
That's just you.
That's probably
That's
not true. I don't know.
It's probably not true. Oh, I'm sorry if people are not finding your laundry conversation interesting.
I just really like that part of the game. I'm sorry.
I'm really curious of like how many people have like the same ideas of laundry as like me and you, Keith, of like how we were in high school.
Oh my gosh,
don't
this reminds me. I know you're trying to get away from the laundry conversation, but it blew my
Liz is
mind.
going back to it.
Andrew was talking to a coworker who said that every single time they shower, they put their towel in the dirty laundry. They use a different towel every single day. Blew my mind.
Well, so
Oh, here we go.
again,
Am I a gross person?
There's no. I mean, there's like, 10 years like college bachelor Keith. I don't know. My towel. Keyword my towel got washed when I did all of my laundry. And I had about a week or 2 weeks worth of laundry depending on the week. So yeah, there was those, and now I don't know, I'll reuse it once, maybe twice, but I try not to go more than a couple showers with the same one at least.
Because for me, like, I don't really like keep it on for long. I'm the type of person, like, if I wash my hands, sometimes I'll just dry them on my pants or a hand towel, but it's like a light dry.
Well, if you've done a
like,
good job washing, you should just be
You're
washing,
clean.
drying clean water on yourself, on the towel.
Yeah.
This is where I don't fully disagree.
But
It's
I'm just
after,
like a quick pat. I'm not like keeping it on. Do you know how some people like keep it on? Like, oh, what am I gonna wear? No, it's like pat off. So I'm like, oh my, like I would never just like that's such a waste of water.
Like, look, I've
know
got kids. I don't have time after. I don't have the luxury of time after a shower to do that. So yes, I get out of the shower, I dry off, and I put clothes on because I got things to do. Because the house might be burning down if I don't.
I know my coworker said that she, cleans her towels every single time because she's like, yeah, that towel's, you just dried your bits with that towel. But it's like, yeah, I'm clean though, so my bits are clean. Like, I'm not like using sweaty, nasty,
Well, that's
like grossness all over
That's
myself.
also where you start shoulders down with one side of the towel, flip it around, and then you
Yep.
do your face with the other side of the towel that you didn't do
Yep.
your bits with. It's
or
so
just
easy.
use
I
a
don't.
face
And then
cloth.
come tomorrow, the towel forgets what parts you dried, so it doesn't
I don't-
matter.
I don't know what part I tried. I just that's again. Yesterday I
Endurance
dried
is
myself
bliss.
Right.
right.
In all fairness, I use a face cloth to dry my face.
What?
Well, that seems like too much.
You
Yeah.
wonder, now you're just creating too much laundry.
Too much effort.
Why are we still talking about laundry?
Andrew's just gonna be editing this and just be like, I don't know, like 5 minutes of video games.
I'm really curious if some people are listening to this. They're like, "Oh, these guys are weird." Like, who uses a towel more than once? But
I love
if that's the
knowing
thing
how
they're
other
hanging
people
on
do
to at
things.
this point after 15 minutes of talking about laundry, good for them for getting this part to find that we're weird.
This is the first episode of us they're listening to. Oh man. But yeah. Let's talk a little bit about music. What did you guys think of the music at Arcade Paradise? Eventually you unlock a jukebox. And, there's probably about like 10, 12 tracks on the jukebox, but you can buy more albums. Not even albums, you just buy one singular song. And they cost £20, so it costs the to-do list. So I never bought any of the additional tracks.
I love that some of the music, like I would put certain songs on. I would forget about during the day, but at night when I was closing up, I'd have to change the music and like fit that vibe.
Yeah.
And I actually really like doing that. And I also like the arcade things for like when you're doing the plunger and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I overall like the audio I liked.
I liked and hated it. Some of it was so repetitive. Some of the songs I hated when I played the arcade games. You're just hearing the same noises because every arcade essentially only has one track. And you're hearing that track over and over again. And the sounds can be very repetitive. And some of them I was just like, oh my word, I got so sick of it. But that being said, there was a song in the jukebox I legitimately really liked. It was Outrun the World. It reminded me very much of like M83. And I was like, this song is a jam.
Did they pay for this music or are there musicians that made the game?
I don't know. So on Spotify, I did find an official soundtrack, and it more looks like some of the generic songs that are in the game. Which, by the way, Keith, this game does a thing you love in a game, and it ends with a fantastic song. Did you listen to the song at all?
I didn't because
Is it butt rock?
I think it happened after the last part that I didn't do.
It's not just butt rock. It's butt rock with a music video. Man. And it is... I couldn't tell if they're trying to be ironic and funny or if they were just really into it. But man, so like this game takes place in 92. So it's very, very typical of like grunge, of like kind of trying to be like Nirvana and edgy. And oh man, that song is just a treat. That's all I'm going to say.
There was one because I'd never really used the jukebox at all. So there was one time I put one on and I don't remember what it was, but it had a very Foo Fighters sound to it actually. And it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what it was, but I didn't mind it.
I just wish, what I hated about the jukebox is you would have to stop, and when a song ended, stop, go to the jukebox and select another song. Like, I wish you could put it on shuffle or something like that, or repeat. Because like I said, there was that one song in the jukebox that I really loved. And I'm like, honestly, if I just list this one song over and over again, I'd be fine with it. But no, I'd be in the middle of my game, the song would end, and then the annoying arcade song would come on, and I'm like, okay, this is annoying.
Did you ever just mute it? The game sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, I would. But there are some arcade games that are like, there's a Dance Dance Revolution game where you have different soundtracks. Some of those songs are actually pretty good, and actually you're playing the arcade game with a different soundtrack, which is nice. Same with Space Race Simulator. You're also picking a different soundtrack. So the music was very odd for me. Like I said, it had highs and lows because there's a lot of repetitive noises. I heard a lot too.
Yeah, I think
but
largely you could play a lot without it. I think
yeah. Oh, you definitely could play this game on mute. 100%.
Yeah, I think I basically just had mostly the bass jam to get your booty on the dance floor. That one. It's a good jam. That was the line I always heard, so.
I don't know that one.
I think she's saying get your booty on the dance floor.
Was that for the Dance Dance Revolution song?
I don't know, maybe. But I heard it playing around the arcade all the time, so.
I literally played, every time I played the Dance Dance Revolution game, the game was on mute. So I actually never listened to any of the songs to the Dance Dance Revolution.
I think I did.
It's kind of funny.
Once, and it was kind of a techno-y type of song, not surprisingly. It wasn't bad.
But as far as the graphics go, Liz, you mentioned that you really like the design of at least the laundromat. But
it was very accurate.
Yeah. The overall graphics to me were were fine. I do like that every arcade game was very different. They ranged from really pixelated or sometimes just like the typical green and black graphics and it's just lines, but then some of them would actually get kind of like 3D. So like every arcade had a very unique style to it, which is nice, but overall, like the graphics of the game is just fine.
Yeah, I think it's just that I don't think they needed to be more, and so I don't think they were lacking anything, but they were definitely nothing in particular special. And then you could take it, really even one step further, where they had, and there was an achievement for it for the arcade, what they called Arcadeception, where on Knuckles and Knees, you would go into an arcade inside the arcade game and play more arcade games.
I actually didn't do that one.
You didn't do that one?
No.
Yeah, it's the one where, I don't know if it's the spoiler of, the one where you invest
It's the Streets of Rage one. Yeah,
where you invest in it with your friend or whatever. And yeah, as you go along, there's an arcade you walk into, and there's 5 arcade or cabinets there. It's like Snake, Racer, like Pong, and yeah, they're very much just like 2 lines basically. But it's kind of funny that I don't know, it's like a game about playing games that you play a game. It's a whole thing. It's very meta. So yeah, and that's an achievement. So we could talk about achievements. You're welcome.
So overall, the achievements of Arcade Paradise are good. I'd overall recommend for achievement hunters. As far as like time to beat, you're looking between 25 to 30 hours, but then the achievements are missable.
You just said they're grindy, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them are story driven, because there's a bunch of story progression achievements. Near the end of the game, there's to have like $250,000 in your bank account, which that just takes time. The worst ones are to unlock all the character upgrades, which I said you need the pounds, the daily to-do list. That just takes a long time. As Keith said, at tops, you maybe make $70 a day. And like you need thousands of dollars to unlock everything. And there's another achievement to unlock all the soundtracks, which those also are like 20 pounds each. And there's like 20 tracks you can unlock. So once again, it's just kind of grindy. Like I really wish this game had because once you're at the end of the game, you can't buy any more cabinets. The cash is 100% worthless. You can't do anything with it. So like I was kind of I was disappointed that there wasn't a way to convert your cash into pounds to kind of speed things up. That would have been really nice. Overall, I think this game, kind of another side note, this game needs a couple quality of life patches. I don't know about you guys. I got a handful of bugs playing some of the arcade games.
The only real bug I ran into that comes to mind was I was like trying to pause the game and I was doing something. So like it was one of those rare instances when you hit the start button, it brought up a pause menu instead of your little PDA that you had.
Yeah, and I couldn't unpause it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I had that happen to me one time, but otherwise, no. I didn't always like some of the mapping when I was trying to pick up trash, but that's, I don't know. I don't think that's a bug. That's just a
well, it's a quality of life thing.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, you could turn on a crosshair, and I was like, cool, if I turn the crosshair on, maybe I could have an easier time picking up the trash. No, it's really finicky. In fact, there was some trash, like, I literally could not pick up. And so, like, it was kind of weird. Like, this game just needs a little bit of patches to fix some of that stuff. But yeah, like, I guess this is one thing I didn't like about this game with Cloud Play is if you ever lose internet connection, like you'll obviously get a controller disconnect. And as Keith was saying, if you're in the middle of playing an arcade game, it pauses the game and you can't unpause it. You can't exit the arcade. Your game is just done. Like you can't even like end the day. You just have to shut the game down. So there was a couple bugs I got. And some of the arcade games, like the arcade virtual hockey, the puck would sometimes go off the map and would disappear. Sometimes I couldn't even control my paddle. So, like, I don't know. Some of the games were a little more buggy for me. But
I didn't really have any bugs. But going back to what you were saying...
How did I get bugs?
I know. To what you were saying about achievements. Andrew, you got a gamer score of 790 with 41 out of 54 achievements. Keith in second place, 570, and I only got 175, but I put a lot of time into it, so it's kind of...
I mean, honestly, that's...
surprised.
That probably goes back to a lot of when, like, you don't try for them as much because you don't, like, it's not something you're looking for, because a lot of them are probably things that were pretty doable, but you just, if you don't focus on it, you're not going to do them intentionally, at least, so...
Yeah, there's a handful of achievements that are secret in this game. I recommend just revealing them. None of them were crazy spoilers, or honestly, I don't think any of them were really spoilers. Another pro tip I have, though, it's an achievement, but I recommend you do it early in the game. I did it for Liz, but there's an achievement called the Inomac code, which is Konami backwards. So if you're a longtime gamer like me, you probably know the infamous Contra code of up, down, up, down, no, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. If you do that at the intro screen, like before you can select to continue the game or whatever, it just says Arcade Paradise. If you enter that code of up, down, down, left, right, BA start, you'll see a golden washer machine icon appear on the main select screen. And you get golden washer machines until you shut the game down. So I did that for Liz. And when you have golden washer machines, whenever you do the laundry, you're based on you have a rating system. So if you do the laundry quickly, you get an S rating, which will give you $30. And then, there's a B, and then C is the worst, which only gives you like $5. But if you have gold washer machines, no matter how long you take, they're always an S rating. So it's just kind of a quick, not a quick way, but I think it made the game progress a little bit faster. Because it's always kind of annoying to be playing a game and you get a notification that the washer's done. And it's like, well, I want to get that max rating to get that money. And so you end up quitting your arcade game and going and doing it. But if you just enter that code, you don't have to worry about the laundry anymore. And it just makes things a little bit faster. So I recommend you start that code right away if you are trying this game. But let's get to our final thoughts here. So like I said, for me, I love management and simulator games. And, being a long time gamer, I love arcades. So having a management arcade game, I was like, I got to check this thing out. And I saw it when it was coming on Game Pass, like people were raving about it. So I was like, I'll see how this is. Overall, Arcade Paradise is a ton of fun. It's a game you can easily sink hours into. It's super relaxing. It's just really chill. I love the aesthetic of it, of just being early 90s. It just nails it, of like the image of an arcade. Playing some of the arcade games, like I said, there are clearly a lot of copies of games you've probably played before, and none of them were exceptionally better. They kind of felt like generic Flash games, but some of them were just so addicting, and I always loved playing them. I always loved unlocking new arcade games, new mini games. So this game is just a fun time sink. It's even now after I've beaten it, if I just pick up a controller and start playing it, I get hooked. I just want to start doing things. As Keith said, just these little tasks just keep you going and going and going. So it's a lot of fun. The DLC is super cheap. You're buying just a single arcade games, but they have like a pinball you can buy. There's a actual like gun shooter game you can buy. And they're all like $1 or $2, so they're very cheap. But for me, this is a solid 85. The game just needs a little bit of quality of life improvements for a couple patches, but overall, I loved Arcade Paradise. Or as Liz calls it, Laundry Paradise.
Yeah, overall, I had a ton of fun, and I think it's good to get back on on the positive side of things. I think I was starting to turn into Negativeville over there.
I know all of us are positive on that.
But yeah, I think I had a lot of fun, and it really boils down to just that little bits and pieces of not even obviously not always an achievement, but just little accomplishments here and there through the game, but buying this cabinet, doing this thing, this to do, this goal. And it always felt like I just wanted to do one more thing because it's just another couple minutes. It's just another couple minutes, and that's just another couple hours. And so, none of them are particularly good, as Andrew said, but a lot of the arcades have a little bit of roguelike elements to them. Kind of neat. I'll still take a true one, but hey. It's there, and so for that, I thought that was kind of a fun thing. It got me into some of these arcades, but yeah, overall, I think this is just a ton of fun. And you can pretty easily play it on Cloud Play. I did some. I know Andrew said he did a majority on there, so maybe it's not your sit down and play for the night game, but maybe you have a commute and you can play there, and it's great for some time sink. So definitely check it out. And I think I was going to go with an 86.
Well, I don't think I liked it as much as you guys. I went into it thinking 85, but then I was like, is that too high? So I think I've kind of knocked myself down to an 83.
Why?
Because the more I'm talking about it, the less I really did like playing the arcade games. I enjoyed them, but there were some times where that is just really not what I wanted to do when I was playing. And I went through these times when I was very addicted to the game and I really just wanted to keep playing like that one more day. And then there are other times where I'm just like...
Even when we're coming back from vacation, you're like, I want to play the game again.
Yeah, I know. 83 is still like a high score.
It is.
But I was just thinking about it. I really, like, right now, I'm like, do I want to play? But if a game, I don't know. But looking at Metacritic for Series X, 81 and 8.2. And then for Xbox One, TBD for both.
All right.
Now you have me questioning my score.
Well, I mean, Andrew, think of it this way. If we were playing Diablo and it was like, well, as you've killed 1 million demons, there's less to kill now, so there's just going to be less spawning. And so the thing you like to do in the game just happens less. That's what's happening to Liz. The game is phasing out the laundry as you go more and more into it. Why would you want to play more?
That's a good point. She doesn't want to lose the laundry because once the laundromat's gone, it's gone.
There's nothing left to play in the game anymore. There's
just arcade cabinets.
It's just a bunch of games. Who can do anything with that? Sorry, Liz.
Anyway, that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you have any game suggestions or you just want to reach out to us, go to GamePassGrabBag.com. You can find all our links to everything. Write us an email, message us on Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever it's called now. We always love hearing from everyone, so please feel free to talk to us and recommend some games for us. I've been your hardcore gamer host, Andrew. You can find me on Xbox Live at Firebird01952.
And as always, I have been Keith. And rounding it out with a rating for the person who recommended this game, it is a solid 0 out of 10 for Andrew.
Oh, come on, Keith.
Okay, fine. You get a 1 this week. You did a pretty good job. Your King of Kong intro is pretty good.
Thanks.
And I'm Liz Noob, gamertag come on Dean, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Liz Noob, Noob is EW.
All right, everyone. We love you all. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.